Ladies and gentlemen, seekers of knowledge, in the sprawling expanse of cosmic history, where empires rise and crumble like forgotten dreams, a chapter exists, a time that predates the triumphant ascent of the Imperium of Man. It's an epoch veiled in mystery when another force dominated the stars. This was the era of the Aeldari, a puzzle that still casts its eerie shadow upon the pages of our past. As an Imperial historiator, it falls upon me, both a privilege and a burden, to unveil this story. Before you can begin to grasp the Aeldari's reign, if you will, picture an intricate network of tunnels, not through the ordinary stretches of space as we know it, but woven into the very fabric of the warp itself, the webway. While we, the humans of the Imperium, must eternally battle the unpredictable and vicious tempests of the Immaterium, the Aeldari cruised the galaxy with elegance and safety unparalleled, cocooned within their webway. It wasn't just infrastructure, it was the lifeblood coursing through the veins of their empire. With the webway as their conduit, the Aeldari's dominion expanded unchecked. Entire star systems came under their sway, not always due to conquest, but often through the sheer magnetism of their culture and technology. Their rule wasn't one of the tyrants, but instead of enlightened stewards, according to our disjointed fragments of history. It was as if the cosmos itself had willingly bowed before them. Yet, as with all tales of grandeur, shadows are lurking beneath the polished surface. The story of the Aeldari isn't a simple one of ascension and glory, but also a tale of arrogance and impending collapse. As we delve deeper into their records, we'll uncover the dual facets of this ancient dominion, their unrivaled elegance coexisting with the seeds of their own damnation. But for now, let us ponder a vision of a galaxy where the stars themselves waltz to the haunting melodies of the Aeldari. This era has faded into obscurity, yet remains etched in our collective memory. As we venture further into the heart of the Aeldari Empire, we uncover the core of their dominion, the Aeldari themselves. More than mere architects of a sprawling galactic empire, these beings were as intricate and multifaceted as the boundless cosmos they once traversed. At first glance, an Aeldari might appear as a delicate, graceful figure, their almond-shaped eyes and slender frames deceiving the casual observer. Yet, such a superficial assessment barely scratches the surface of their essence. Their lifespans, spanning centuries or even millennia, granted them a depth and perspective that the fleeting lives of us humans can scarcely grasp. Time for them was not just a measure, but a canvas upon which passions, talents, and knowledge were meticulously refined to degrees we can only dream of. Each Aeldari was more than an individual in the conventional sense. They were living repositories of experiences, emotions, and expertise gathered over their existence. Their souls resonated with a vibrancy, an intensity of feeling and perception, rendering even the most ordinary moments profoundly profound. Their art, music, and philosophies bore the indelible mark of beings who perceived the universe on a scale almost alien to our own sensibilities. And precisely this soulful depth and profound psychic resonance served as their greatest strength and their most harrowing vulnerability. Every Aeldari was innately psychic, capable of shaping not just the physical world around them, but the essence of the warp itself. This connection to the warp was not the precarious flirtation that humanity engages in with psychic abilities. For the Aeldari, it was as natural as breathing. It saturated their culture, their technology, and their very existence. Yet with this profound connection came profound perils. The Aeldari's souls burned with an intensity that made them luminescent beacons in the warp, irresistible to its most malevolent denizens. Over the eons, they learned to shield themselves and their realms from these dangers, but the brilliance of their souls painted targets on their backs, sought after by the most sinister entities that the warp spawned. To truly grasp the Aeldari, one must grapple with these paradoxes. They embodied vast wisdom and intense emotion and possessed incredible power while remaining hauntingly vulnerable. Their narrative is not just one of an empire's rise and fall, but of a species that reached the zenith of potential, only to teeter on the precipice of their own essence. In our next exploration, we will plunge into the societal and cultural structures they forged and the slow, insidious decadence that inevitably led to their explosive demise. To the war in heaven, a conflict so ancient and profound that its aftershocks still ripple through the galaxy's vastness, molding the fates of innumerable species, foremost among them the Aeldari. Long before the Aeldari's zenith, before their forebears dared dream of conquering the stars, the galaxy was a battleground for titanic forces. The Old Ones, an inscrutable and ancient species of unparalleled wisdom and power, shepherded over expansive domains in the cosmos. Their mastery of the warp and the material realm was peerless, expertise coveted by an emerging and ambitious race, the Necrontyr, cursed with short, agonizing lifespans beneath a malevolent sun, yearning for the secrets the Old Ones possessed. As tensions escalated, the Necrontyr allied with eldritch entities known as the Catan. This pact led to their transformation from organic beings into the soulless, undying constructs we now know as the Necrons. Together, they waged a cataclysmic war against the Old Ones, a conflict that saw stars extinguished and entire dimensions torn. In this cosmic chess match, the Aeldari were but one of the many pawns wielded by the Old Ones. Birthed or uplifted by these ancient beings, the early Aeldari were endowed with psychic potential, not merely as a gift, but as a weapon. They, alongside other burgeoning races like the Krork precursors to the Orcs, served as foot soldiers, the bulwark against the relentless advance of the Necron-Catan alliance. The war in heaven was no ordinary war. It transcended fleets and armies, spanning both the material and ethereal domains. The Aeldari's inherent psychic talents rendered them indispensable, enabling them to counteract the reality-bending powers of the Catan and offer resistance within the warp itself. They were the force of equilibrium, ensuring the Necrons couldn't advance unopposed. But as with wars of such magnitude, the toll was beyond reckoning. Entire star systems were obliterated, realities were merged and fractured, and the very fabric of the galaxy underwent irrevocable transformation. While the records we possess are fragmented, it is believed that the united efforts of the Old Ones and their allies, including the Aeldari, eventually shifted the tides, imprisoning the Catan and compelling the Necrons to retreat into their tomb worlds. The aftermath of the war in heaven plunged the galaxy into disarray. The Old Ones, grievously wounded and hunted to near extinction, dissolved into myth. In their wake, the Aeldari, scarred and bearing the hard-earned wisdom of war etched into their collective memory, commenced their ascent as the new dominant power, inheriting a galaxy reshaped by conflict. Yet the echoes of that ancient war endured, and amid the ruins of this celestial clash, the seeds of the Aeldari's own impending tragedy took root. From the wreckage of ancient battles, the Aeldari did not merely rise as conquerors, but as architects of a new fate. Their triumph over the Necron-Catan alliance was not just a testament to their survival. It was an invitation to establish their dominion over the starry expanse. The galaxy, an expanse of endless worlds, lay before them like clay in the hands of master sculptors. Armed with their superior knowledge, psychic prowess and technological might, the Aeldari embarked on a grand quest of exploration, colonization, and enlightenment. Their intricate webway, a labyrinthine marvel in the very fabric of the warp, allowed them to traverse vast cosmic distances effortlessly, knitting their burgeoning realm together with threads of swift transit. As they expanded their reach, they encountered countless celestial bodies, each a tapestry of unique wonders and trials. Yet, the allure of the Aeldari culture, their artistry, philosophy, and way of life proved so irresistible that many of these worlds willingly or unwittingly came under their sway. Hostile or apathetic planets transformed into harmonious notes in the grand symphony of Aeldari civilization. At the zenith of their dominion, the Aeldari accomplished feats that border on the miraculous, even by the lofty standards of our Imperium. Their terrestrial and astral cities stood as architectural marvels, embodiments of their aesthetic sensibilities and their dominion over the material realm. Craft worlds, colossal vessels resembling floating metropolises, sailed the cosmic sea, ensuring the influence of the Aeldari was imprinted in every corner of the galaxy. In the realm of culture, the Aeldari experienced a renaissance that spanned millennia. With the security and prosperity afforded by their vast empire, they delved deep into the arts, sciences, and philosophies. Their songs moved stars to tears, Their sculptures captured the essence of the universe, and their perspectives endeavored to unravel the very fabric of existence. Yet, amidst all their splendor, there brewed an undertow of complacency. Having vanquished the Necrons, a dangerous arrogance began to take root with no formidable adversary on the horizon. The very qualities that had propelled their ascent, their profound emotions, the depth of their experiences, and their psychic might, began to manifest in ways that would set the stage for trials the Aeldari had never imagined. As they reveled in their achievements, the vast expanse of their empire would, in time, prove both their shield and their prison. Protected from external threats, they became increasingly introspective, and the intense passions that defined the Aeldari soul began to manifest in both wondrous and, eventually, destructive forms. In this age of unrivaled ascendancy, the first tremors of what would become a cataclysmic tide of transformation began to ripple through their society. The Aeldari stood unchallenged, but as the eternal order of the cosmos dictates, empires that scale the zenith must grapple with the burdens of their own grandeur. A culture once marked by pursuing knowledge, artistic expression, and deep spiritual communion underwent a metamorphosis. The Aeldari, their lifespans stretching like endless horizons, their emotional and psychic depths unfathomable, began to yearn for sensations more intense, experiences more extreme. Their passions, the very fuel of their civilization's ascent, morphed into something darker. With no foes at the gates, they turned inward toward the edges of experience and emotion. Sprawling cities and realms that once celebrated enlightenment and artistry descended into shadows of excess. Hedonistic feasts, where the Aeldari sought to taste every pleasure, every sensation, became routine. The intensity of their emotions and the profundity of their experiences seeped into the turbulent sea of the warp, a realm that mirrored and magnified the feelings of sentient beings. But it was not just hedonism that marked the decline. The Aeldari's innate psychic prowess, once a source of wonder and power, twisted into something unnatural. Cults venerating pleasure, pain, and every extreme emotion sprouted like mushrooms across their worlds. These cults, fueled by their lust for new sensations, conducted rituals and rites that resonated with malevolent frequencies within the warp. Unbeknownst to most, their collective actions and emotions coalesced in the warp, birthing an embryonic deity that hungered for their very souls. This nascent god, an embodiment of their unchecked desires and excesses, would later be known as Slaanesh, the Prince of Pleasure. As time marched on, the once glorious Aeldari civilization appeared blind to the impending catastrophe. Hubris veiled their eyes to the repercussions of their deeds. Only a handful of seers and prophets glimpsed the disturbances in the warp, the ravenous appetite of a nascent entity nourished by their actions. Regrettably, their warnings often fell on deaf ears, dismissed as the ravings of the overly cautious or the delusional. The cycle of hedonism, excess, and psychic resonance spiraled ever faster, each facet feeding upon the other. The very soul of the Aeldari race, radiant and vibrant, became eclipsed by their unchecked desires. The empire that had once unfurled across the stars, a beacon of enlightenment and order, teetered on the precipice of an abyss of their own creation. The climax of their folly would soon birth a cataclysm that not only shattered the Aeldari Empire, but also remolded the galaxy itself. The echoes of their fall stand as a grim reminder, a warning in the shadows of history, of the fragility of even the mightiest civilizations, and the dire consequences of succumbing to unbridled desires and unchecked pride. The unchecked indulgence and extravagance of the Aeldari had over eons sent out ripples and tremors into the warp, that tumultuous dimension knotted to the emotions of sentient beings. As the Aeldari spiraled deeper into their quests for sensation and experience, these tremors began to coalesce, gradually taking shape. Then, in a singular apocalyptic moment, this entity, now reaching a critical mass, was violently thrust into existence. Slaanesh, the Dark Prince, the god of excess, clawed its way into being with a scream that pierced through both reality and the warp. This psychic wail, a tempest of anguish, euphoria, and unbridled emotion, slashed through the souls of the Aeldari, snuffing out countless lives in an instant. Whole worlds, once jewels of the Aeldari Empire, were swallowed by this psychic maelstrom. The very fabric of the material realm quivered as the cataclysmic birth of a god rippled across the galaxy. At the heart of the Aeldari realms, a colossal rift in reality was torn asunder, a wound in the very fabric of existence. This scar, this wound, was the Eye of Terror, an eternal reminder, a testimony to the magnitude of the Aeldari's fall. Yet not all Aeldari were devoured by this calamity. Those aboard the craft worlds managed to evade the full force of Slaanesh's birth scream, though they were not spared the weight of profound trauma. These craftworld Aeldari, now drifting nomads in the boundless cosmos, carried with them the burden of their civilization's sins, forever altered by the tragedy they had borne witness to. Elsewhere, the Aeldari dwelling in the labyrinthine expanses of the Webway, the denizens of Camorra, escaped the immediate catastrophe, yet they too felt the aftershocks of Slaanesh's emergence. Slaanesh's birth ushered in another grim reality for the Aeldari. Upon their death, their souls became the coveted prizes of the newborn god. The Dark Prince hungered for the essence of the very beings from whose desires it had sprung, desiring to consume their souls to sate its insatiable appetite. In the aftermath, the Aeldari stood fragmented and shattered. From their galactic supremacy, they plummeted to the brink of annihilation, their existence forever haunted by the spectre of Slaanesh. Their once glorious empire lay in ruins, a poignant testament to the dangers of unchecked longing and the profound intertwinement of the material and immaterial realms. While steeped in profound sorrow, their narrative also resonates with resilience, adaptation, and the eternal quest for redemption in the face of insurmountable despair. The Aeldari, who managed to survive the anguished birthcry of Slaanesh, were but a mere shard of their once mighty populace, their once glorious cities and planets, now reduced to desolate wastelands or swallowed whole by the insatiable maw of the Eye of Terror. Those who endured, now confronted with the ceaseless craving of Slaanesh, who hungered for their souls upon the moment of their death, were forced to devise methods to safeguard their very essence from the Dark Prince's rapacious clutches. Among the craftworld Aeldari, the solution emerged as soulstones, crystalline vessels designed to ensnare and protect an Aeldari's soul upon their demise. These craftworlds, each a remnant of a lost world or city, assumed the role of bastions for Aeldari culture and tradition. While they mourned the loss of their once mighty empire, they also stood as determined custodians of their legacy, ensuring that the wisdom, artistry, and history of their people would not vanish into the void. Meanwhile, within the Webway, the dark city of Camorra, home to the Drukhari, or Dark Eldar, took a sinister evolutionary path. Shielded from the direct onslaught of Slaanesh's cataclysmic birth, the Drukhari could still feel the relentless hunger of the new god for their souls. Their response was a gruesome one. By inflicting agony and torment upon others, they discovered a perverse means of rejuvenating themselves, temporarily staving off the soul-devouring decay inflicted by Slaanesh. This malevolent renewal process plunged them into the depths of raiding and piracy, as they captured victims from across the galaxy to satiate their sadistic thirsts. The enigmatic Harlequins, those performers and guardians of the cryptic Black Library ensconced within the Webway, assumed the mantle of preserving the Aeldari's history through the medium of dance and theatrical performance. Yet they also harbored a deeper purpose: to combat the forces of chaos, particularly the insidious influences of Slaanesh. Their existence was a complex cosmic dance, intricately intertwined with their theatrical representations of the Aeldari's tragic history. As these fractured factions navigated their new realities, the ripple effects of the Aeldari's decline reverberated throughout the wider galaxy. With the Aeldari Empire no longer reigning as the dominant power, fresh and ancient races alike rushed to fill the void left in its wake. Most notably, humanity's burgeoning Imperium initiated its grand Great Crusade, thrusting ever outward to expand its dominion in a galaxy no longer held in thrall by Aeldari supremacy. However, the most profound consequence of the Aeldari's fall was the dark strengthening of chaos itself. With the agonized birth of Slaanesh, the pantheon of chaos deities was at last rendered complete. The delicate equilibrium of power within the warp teetered and swayed, with dire ramifications echoing into the material realm. This marked the onset of a turbulent age, a time of upheaval and strife that would shape the destiny of the galaxy itself. Yet, amidst this tapestry of diverse existences, a shared ember of hope still flickers. The prospect, however faint, of rebirth. Whispers, barely audible, speak of the resurgence of Ynead, the Aeldari god of the dead, who may one day stand against the tyranny of Slaanesh, heralding a dawn of renewal for their beleaguered race. While the path to this potential salvation remains fraught with shadows and uncertainty, the Ynnari, devotees of Ynead, cling to the fragile belief in a future free from the suffocating grasp of the Dark Prince. To the Imperium, the Aeldari remain an enigmatic conundrum, at times allies, at times adversaries, their motives an inscrutable riddle. Yet even the most zealous Imperial historitor must concede the profound impact the Aeldari have had and continue to exert upon the ever-evolving stage of the galaxy. As the veil descends upon our expedition into the annals of the Aeldari and their once mighty dominion, it behoves us not merely to tally the chronicles of events, but to plumb the profound truths that lie beneath. Where empires rise and crumble, where power waxes and wanes like the eternal stars above, the Aeldari epic stands as a testament to the ceaseless cadence of existence. The apogee of the Aeldari, a zenith bedecked in opulence, elegance, and mastery, is a siren's call for all civilizations, including our own steadfast Imperium. Their ascendancy was a symphony of artistic brilliance, scientific marvels, and psychic ascendancy. They molded worlds, unraveled the galaxy's questions, and, for an epoch, defied the very boundaries of mortality itself. Yet, it was precisely within this gilded era that the seeds of their demise were planted. Complacency, the hubris of untold success, and desires unchained corroded the very foundations of their society. In the pursuit of unbridled pleasure and self-indulgence, they became oblivious to the ever-widening abyss beneath their mere feet, leading to an apocalypse that rent not only their dominion, but birthed a sinister deity within the pantheon of chaos. From the wreckage of their once illustrious civilization, the Aeldari fragments emerged as poignant relics: craftworlders, Drukhari, Exodites, Harlequins, and myriad others. Each, in their own unique manner, presents a looking glass through which we may examine responses to calamity, from resolute preservation and stern asceticism to shadowed adaptation and fervent aspiration. For us, the faithful servants of the God Emperor and custodians of the records, the Aeldari Chronicle plays a dual role. It serves as both a stark warning against the treacherous perils of unbridled ambition and excess, and a luminous testament to the irrepressible resilience that resides in every sentient soul. Even when confronted with the precipice of annihilation, they remain resolute, steadfast against the encroaching darkness.